Rashid, the moderator of the session, now call upon our CEO and MD, Mr. Tahir Abdulbari, to introduce the event and the platform. Mr. Tahir, the platform is all yours.
Thank you very much, Umaima. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of TAB Group and our organizing committee, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you for the Global Vertical Farming Show GVF 2021. I am pleased to announce today that we have more than 1,000 vertical farming professionals and related professionals joining us from over 25 countries live on this stage with us. First of all, I would like to extend our gratitude and would like to thank our platinum sponsor Farmfluence, our gold sponsors Jiffy Group and Signify, our silver sponsors Zandu and Urban Agro. And also, importantly, I would like to thank our supporting associations, including Association for Vertical Farming, the GPFA from Japan, the Center of Excellence for Indoor Agriculture. Along with this, I would really want to extend a very warm welcome to all the wonderful exhibitors, partners, and our delegates who are joining us live. I know with a virtual event, we have a sort of a flexibility for people to join us from different time zones. At the same time, it's also a little challenging, for some people, it will be almost mid of the night who are joining us. Ian was just telling me that it's the sun hasn't still risen there in his part. So this is something we really appreciate. People are coming up together and putting efforts for the industry. Now, the aim of this show and the platform for us is to get together all the different stakeholders from the industry, who are trying to put in their efforts to develop this as a major industry in the coming future. As a company, we believe that the vertical farming industry has immense potential to grow exponentially in the coming future with all the urbanization and the scarcity of food. This really is something which would play a very critical part. With this, ladies and gentlemen, the event platform that we are using for this event, it is user-friendly, it's easy to navigate, easy to use. We have a lot of opportunities to network with our co-event attendees. I strongly suggest that, this is something we can easily use to, find the people who are related to our businesses, who are related to our level of interest. You have options to go to the lobby tab and find all the people who are on this platform. We can send them our business cards, send them requests for meeting. We have a booth area where the exhibitors and sponsors have their representatives who are going to talk about their products, who are going to talk about potential business associations. It is a wonderful opportunity and an exciting opportunity to go out there, share your cards, meet those people, and obviously develop wonderful connections. My team and myself, we will be available to assist you over the next 2 days. If there is anything we can do to make this event more comfortable and fruitful for you, please feel free to reach out to us. I hope you enjoy your next 2 days with us. We'll try to play a short demo video for everyone to see so that it becomes easy for all of us to navigate over the next 2 days. If we just give a second, I'll try to see if I can share my screen. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. This is a quick walkthrough of the event platform. At the moment you are all here in this session, the first thing that you should do once you are on the platform is to update your profile, which is very important. Just go on the right top icon on your screen, update your profile, and make sure you update it here. It's important because your business cards would be automatically generated from the system based on the information you have updated. Now, once you are in a particular session, you have an option to ask questions to the speaker. Simply type in your question here. You can view who all are the panelists. You can view the information and brochures that the speakers have updated from here. Now, there are multiple sessions that are going to take place in the next 2 days. When this button turns out to be green, it means that the session is live now. So you want to attend this session, simply click on this link and you will land inside the session. The other very important thing is the lobby area. This is where you find all the other people, your co-event attendees who are present on the event. So you have a very good opportunity to look at other people who are related to your business, see who do you want to meet, who do you want to do business meetings with. So in this, you simply have to send a text message to the person, schedule a request for a meeting, or just share your business card with this attachment. Click on this button and your business card will go out to him. You have an option to directly start a video meeting with any of these people. Once you press this button and they are live, and on accepting your invitation, a video screen will pop up for both of you and a seamless video meeting will start here. Now you also have an option to do a video meeting with up to 8 people together as a conference call. So for that, you have to go to the launch area, and invite any of your colleagues or a group of colleagues to any particular table. So we have about 20 launch tables for you to do meetings and use any of these tables. So for example, if all of us are coming together and going to the Signify table, so we can simply grab a seat. Once we are inside this launch, 8 video screens will pop up and we can start doing video meeting with each other. The speaker area, VIP area, is where we have our expert speakers and VIPs for the event. They have their dedicated meeting rooms. So you simply have to send a message here or share a business card, request for an appointment for a meeting, or enter this room if the person is available and he accepts your invitation to start a video meeting. Once you press the enter button, a video meeting will start with both of you. The most interesting part, ladies and gentlemen, is the booths area. This is where we have the top global companies from within the industry who have their booths where they're going to talk about their product solutions and potential business opportunities. So you can always go and start meeting with the representatives from these companies. You can either schedule a meeting in advance with them, or you can simply enter a specific booth. So while you enter the booth, you can have information about their company, you can see the catalogs, etc. Or you can simply join the wait room. This is, if you join the wait room, you will be placed here and a notification will go to the company representatives and they'll invite you for the meeting. Once they invite you for the meeting, an auto notification will come up your screen that the meeting is about to start, and you can start a video meeting. Again, we have an opportunity to do a networking meeting, a conference meeting. There could be multiple people from your company and from this company who are meeting together. These handouts and other information that you want to download or look into at a later stage, you simply click on this and it would either be downloaded directly on your system. You will also have this in your handouts bag. At the end of the day, you simply have to go to your handouts bag and see all the information that you have downloaded during the event and send it to your email box. So it will directly go to your email box. Going to the booths is a very good opportunity where you want to see what are the new products available, what are the new services, solutions available, and how you can explore business development opportunities with all these companies. Now, help desk is where, if in case you are facing any problems, in case you have any issues, you can always reach out to our team. They are always willing and happy to help. But the best way is where, in case you face any connectivity issues or any other issues related to the platform, simply go to the troubleshoot button, reboot your system. Once, everything will come up and running again for you. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you have a wonderful event ahead and you enjoy your next 2 days with us. Thank you very much. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome you on board, and we officially open the event for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahir, for giving your introduction. For all the platform users, if you have any queries related to the platform, you can drop your questions under the help desk. The team will be happy to answer. Meanwhile, in between, we will share the video of the demo. Moving forward with the event, to begin with the inaugural session, one, which is the vertical farming, feeding the future of agriculture, I would like to call upon Ian Cox, Agritech Centers at Innovate UK, where he will enlighten us that if the vertical farming can be used as an alternative for traditional or conventional farming. So I call upon Ian. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Umaima, and good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Can everybody see my screen okay? It's my pleasure to be here today to talk about whether vertical farming can be used as an alternative to traditional farming, which I've cheekily entitled it as being the promise of vertical farming. In my role at Innovate UK, I'm privileged to look after the UK's 4 Agri-Tech centres. One of which, the Crop Health and Protection Centre, or CHAP as it's known, has facilities focused on helping industry to develop new techniques and technologies, including in vertical farming. I also get to see many exciting new industry-led projects here in the UK, developing new solutions to advance the agri-food industry. Innovate UK is the United Kingdom's strategic innovation agency, and it helps companies based in the UK to work collaboratively to develop the new solutions we need to tackle the problems we all face, including how to feed an ever-growing population in a net zero carbon environment. In the last 10 years, we have funded over 400 agri-food projects, including many in controlled environment agriculture and aspects of vertical farming. Innovate UK is one of the 9 funding councils within UK Research and Innovation, which invests on behalf of the UK government over £7 billion annually in research and innovation. Together,
Ian, sorry, we are not able to see your screen. We are
right,
getting
okay, hold on, let me just do that a second. See, I don't know what happened there. It should be working.
Yes, Ian, we were not able to see your screen share.
Okay, sorry about that. Now, how do I get into this again? I've got I pressed.
Yes, you will just have to use the third icon, the screen share.
Yes, that's it. Is that showing up now?
Perfect. We are able to see your screen. You can launch your presentation now.
Oh, sorry about that. You haven't missed much. But you heard the first part, did you?
Not an issue. We can continue where we just left. That's fine. You can launch your presentation now. Perfect. We can see that now.
Okay, brilliant. So shall I start again or?
No, you can continue, Ian.
You
were listening quite carefully. You can continue with your current slide.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so that's where I'm at. I'm talking about Innovate UK is part of UK Research and Innovation, and we invest over £7 billion a year collectively into research and innovation, making the impossible possible and delivering knowledge with impact. So what is meant by vertical farming? Ever since Dr. Dixon Despomy in the 1990s coined the phrase the concept of a skyscraper farm, there's been no one definition of vertical farming. Wikipedia, for instance, defines it as vertical farming as the practice of growing crops in vertically stacked layers, whilst Professor Chung-Gui Liu of Nottingham Trent University describes it as an indoor agricultural strategy to growing crops in protected environments. So, as we can see, vertical farms can be in buildings, underground. So I'm showing here growing underground in Southwest 4 in London that are using redundant tube stations and tube lines to grow crops in. Or they can be in both, as in the top right-hand corner picture, which is a concept in Beijing, in China. Or they can be in containers. Does it only have to be crops that can be grown in a vertical farm? Could we do more for animals? In China, there are exciting new developments with vertical pig farms being developed to cope with the increasing demand of a prosperous middle class for meat, and which could potentially capture the greenhouse gases they emit. The biggest vertical farming benefit is they are not dependent on the weather. meaning you can achieve a consistent year-round crop production without worrying about the impact that adverse weather conditions can have both on quality and profiling of production and yield. Farming in a protected, well-monitored and managed environment brings assurance and peace of mind for growers, providing repeatable, programmable production. And for the food distributors and retailers, it brings peace of mind over availability of produce. By eliminating the effects of Mother Nature, there's no such thing as a seasonal crop, and growers won't suffer from losses they try to push the production windows of seasonal cropping. They can also successfully reduce harvest times and improve volume without compromising on flavour or quality, which should remain consistent. Indeed, flavour and shelf life have consistently been able to be demonstrate improved attributes using an indoor vertical growing system when designed and managed correctly. This allows commercial growers to confidently commit to the delivery schedules demanded by the customers. It goes without saying that traditional farms need fertile arable land, but vertical farms can be designed and built in any climate or location, irrespective of weather conditions or temperature extremes. And because stacking grow systems allow them to expand upwards, it's also possible to achieve higher productivity on a small land area. Depending on which crop is grown, 1 acre of vertical farm could consistently grow the equivalent of between 10 to 20 soil-based acres. One of the main vertical farming benefits is that hydroponic growing processes use only about 5 to 10% of the volume of water, and as a result, nutrients and fertilizers, compared to traditional methods. Because the water remains clean after use, it also allows it to be recycled and reused, reducing costs and minimizing waste. Growing food in a vertical farm, when managed correctly, offers the opportunity to completely eliminate the need for pesticides, as pests cannot enter the controlled environment to cause crop damage, and fungal diseases struggle to gain a foothold as humidity levels are managed. The end result is a product which is a better, healthier, safer, and featuring dry leaves which are clean and ready to eat. When it comes to food production, it's commonly said that the last mile delivery is usually the most expensive part of the supply chain, and it's not uncommon for crops to be shipped across continents and oceans. Growing food closer to where the consumer lives is a massive vertical farming benefit, as it can significantly reduce transportation costs, greenhouse gas emissions, and reduce the need for extended refrigerated storage, making the produce fresher and more profitable for the growers. By locating in urban environments, existing vacant buildings and infrastructure can be repurposed, as well as potentially creating new jobs. As a result, the consumer is able to benefit from fresher and more nutritious produce. In some countries, the cachet of having organically produced food is such that consumers are willing to pay significantly more for it, enhancing the margins through the supply chain. One of CHAP's facilities, the Natural Light Growing Centre, has, in independent taste tests, recently produced the tastiest baby cucumbers yet tasted in the UK. Vertical farms are also generating a whole new infrastructure of suppliers and services. This can bring its own challenges in terms of the latest versus tried and tested systems, and also, do all the different technologies integrate and work with one another? Despite all the benefits vertical farms can bring, there are some major downsides as well. The first being that they can be expensive to build. For instance, Era Farms announced last year that they were building a 90,000 square feet indoor vertical farm in Abu Dhabi that was said to be the largest of its kind at the time, funded through a $100 million investment from the Abu Dhabi AgTech Incentive Programme. Whilst vertical farms will be attractive to locate close to cities, the high price of real estate can impede the financial viability of urban locations. Whilst produce from a vertical farm can currently command a margin over conventional produce, as vertical farms become more common, the margin differential is likely to decrease. So different operating and marketing strategies will be needed to reflect the changing economics. Next generation lighting and ventilation systems are becoming more energy efficient and have a longer asset life, thus potentially reducing the operating costs and improving the financial viability of a farm. So whilst critics argue that vertical farms are energy intensive, they fail to recognise that there are many different models of vertical farms, not all employing artificial lighting. Some systems, such as Saturn Bioponics model shown here, can be built in conventional greenhouses or polytunnels, achieving good economic results. As the world shifts towards more renewable energy production, arguments that vertical farms have a negative climate impact lose effect. Rahman and his team reviewed the carbon dioxide emissions of vertical farms and found that they can have 69 to 92% lower carbon dioxide emissions than conventional greenhouses. The big danger for vertical farms is continuity of power. If the farm loses power for a few hours or a day, it can seriously impact production cycles. And unfortunately, not all crops grow in them. When you look on the internet and see what vertical farms grow, there are a lot of herbs and leafy greens being produced. There's a reason for this. They grow fast, command a price premium, and do not require as much light as other crops. For vertical farms to become truly impactful, they need to move towards producing more vegetables, fruits, pulses, and ground fruits. To do this requires on average 2.5 times the energy input of leafy greens. This then comes back to the economics argument. Can the market stand the higher prices for these crops? If you look at the main staple crops that feed the world, such as rice or wheat, the energy demand is around 30 times that of leafy greens. But that is for conventional crops adapted to growing in a field, slowly and able to withstand a variety of stresses such as drought or heat. What are needed are new varieties adapted to grow in a vertical farm. Vertical farm still offers many opportunities as it evolves. Sensors are developing at a rapid rate and are key to the current fourth revolution in agriculture. The sensors will be able to detect when growth parameters are not optimal, and automated systems will be able to take corrective action any time of the day or night. Artificial intelligence techniques, like machine learning, can also be used to analyze images of plants' growth to immediately detect any unexpected deviations or growth deficiencies. Sense and data platform combined with cloud computing applications will considerably add value for the growers, from monitoring the growth processes and detecting problems as early as possible to accelerating the development of new optimized growth recipes. Combined with robotics and automation systems, the farms will require little human intervention. New hybrid farms will also become more prevalent, combining a variety of techniques, including aquaculture or even insect factories. And newer materials will be used in their construction, such as RIPE's ETFE natural light greenhouse to combine the best of natural sunlight augmented with LED lighting when needed. New crop varieties are being developed, trialled and coming into production, broadening the range of produce for the consumer. This even includes slower growing varieties of plants that up to now have been excluded from vertical farms. Thinking more broadly, vertical farms offer the ability to scale up nutraceutical plant production, not just cannabis, but others such as ice plant that can be used to alleviate pulmonary and kidney conditions, and yet more for vaccine production. This will be helped by the advent of biological technologies such as CRISPR to enhance variety optimization. I'll quickly give an overview of a couple of exciting projects Innovate UK is funding. The first is by a company called Let Us Grow. Bit of a play on words, I know, but it does work. We funded them to develop an aeroponic system, which along with an integrated management system, allows crop to grow faster than in a conventional hydroponics system. This has given the company the ability to look beyond traditional leafy crops and into new areas such as biomass crops and reforestation crops, something that's going to be key to tackle climate change going forward. As a result of the Innovate UK funding, the company has now secured follow-on seed funding from investors. Gelponics, this is being led by a company called AEH Innovative Hydrogel Limited and aims to decarbonise hydroponics by bringing novel sustainable hydrogel substrates to the market, which combined with low energy systems engineering will make a difference. This is making use of the Crop Health and Protection Centre's Vertical Farming Development Centre for trials work. As I said earlier, CHAP has a range of, or the Crop Health and Protection Centre has a range of facilities available for companies and researchers to use to help to develop the next generation of vertical farms. I suggest you have a look at their website for more details at www.chap-solutions.co.uk. Now, it won't be a presentation if I don't quickly mention all 4 agri-tech centres. They do get annoyed if I don't mention them. So the 4 agri-tech centres exist for you to be able to help you to develop the next generation of agricultural technologies. They don't do that for free. You do have to pay for the facilities, unfortunately. But they do bring together leading industry and academic partners in a unique partnership which can help to develop your next generation of vertical farms. So the 4 centres are Agri-EPI, the Engineering Precision Innovation Centre, which is enabling sustainability, productivity and resilience through technology. We've got Agrimetrics, the world's first agri-data food marketplace. CL, which is the Centre for Innovation Excellence in Livestock. It provides the front door to probably the world's largest livestock research alliance with 12 leading academic partners throughout the UK. And we've got the Crop Health and Protection Centre, which is improving crop, soil health and productivity. And as you can see, we have a national network of facilities and farms to trial things on in the UK. Further details can be found at www.agritechcenters.com. So, in conclusion, vertical farming has evolved quickly over recent years, moving into the mainstream of farming. It's not going to be the total solution, but it will be part of it. It's going to help to alleviate some of the shocks being experienced in the current global food system. And the markets for the farms are expected to grow dramatically in the coming years, aided by new technology and biological techniques, not forgetting the input of horticulturalists and plant scientists and the traditional growers, and it will help with the drive towards low and zero carbon farming. Overall, it's going to be an exciting future and one which I look forward to helping you to develop. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ian, for enlightening us and giving a very good insight about the vertical farming. It was quite enlightening. Thank you so much. I would now like to call upon Professor Joel L. Culo, the Professor of Biosystems Engineering at the University of Arizona and the Vice Chair of the International Association for Vertical Farming. Professor Joel, the stage is yours.
Yes, thank you. Can you see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, yeah.
All right, thank you so much. So thank you to all the organizers of the Global Vertical Farming. It's an opportunity to speak. It's my privilege. Again, I'm Joel Coelho, Professor of Biosystems Engineering at the University of Arizona. I'm one of the vice chairs of the Association for Vertical Farming. The other vice chair, Rahman Ibrahim Najit, is joining us on the panel as well. I'm here to talk about vertical farming for all, from low to high income countries to on-demand production in low Earth orbit, the moon, Mars, and beyond. So I'm sure that everyone is aware that we're facing an urgent planetary grand challenge, which is food. And that's mainly because our global population is growing from the current about 7.6 billion to about 9.7 billion in the next 29 years. That's like adding another Europe and another Africa to our planet in terms of population. And to be able to meet the food demand in the next 29 years, the United Nations Food and Agricultural Organization projects we have to increase our food production by 70%. And crop production actually needs to be doubled. But this is a very tall order because food production or agriculture is already responsible for 70% of all freshwater withdrawals globally. We're already using up to about half of our habitable land. And food production, as well as the food supply chain, consumes as much as 30% of our energy expenditures. So if we're going to increase our food production further by 70% in the next 29 years, where are we going to get all the fresh water, habitable land, and energy that we need to be able to make that happen? And on top of that, this whole process is really exacerbated by the significant disruptions in both food production and the food supply chain by the ongoing pandemic, and over the long term as well by our changing climate. So it's a very challenging situation that we're in. Parallel to that, there's been a renewed commitment to long duration crewed missions, not just in low Earth orbit, but also in deep space, such as on the moon and Mars. And this is a particular challenge because to be able to sustain the astronauts for long duration crewed missions in these places, they have to have food. But there's no available running water, say on the surface of Mars or on the moon. There's no arable land available, and you have these extreme environmental conditions characterized by bombardments of ionizing radiation, wild swings in temperatures between night and day. You have meteors and you've got meteorites. So it's a very challenging situation. I did my postdoctoral fellowship at NASA Kennedy Space Center. I worked on this division called Closed Ecological Life Support System, which really is space farming, if you will. And this is an actual biomass production chamber that we were working with at NASA Kennedy Space Center back in the 1990s. Where we were growing crops in a closed environment system using artificial light, and we're controlling the temperature, the humidity, and so on and so forth. So this really was a precursor for vertical farming as we know it today. And I continued my work when I moved here to the University of Arizona. I also had the opportunity to visit other countries that's working on space life support, including Beijing University of Aeronautics and Astronautics, or Beihang University in Beijing, China. And in the last few years, they've been working in terms of having crew members residing in a sealed chamber for long duration, such as this one here, the first one. This is called the Lunar Palace. These 3 crew members stayed in there for 105 days continuously in a sealed environment. And this is the picture at the end of, or at the completion of that period of 105 days. The director for this program is Professor Liu Hong. And I had the opportunity to visit him when I had a conference in Beijing, and she gave me a tour of the facility. Since then, they've repeated the experiment, and now crew members have stayed at Lunar Palace for over 365 days. So far, they've really, this is the group that really has implemented these long duration experiments, earthbound, but it's intended for long duration crewed missions in the future. So whether we're talking about the situation here on Earth or for future crewed missions on the moon or Mars or in deep space, we are facing very similar challenges. And the great thing about this is that the achievements that are done in either places could inform one another and therefore could help one another in terms of developing appropriate innovations for each scenario. So certainly one of the critical needs would be game-changing innovations, and that would be vertical farming. As Ian Cox mentioned, vertical farming is not a panacea. It's not a complete solution, but it's certainly one of the innovative solutions that we need to be able to meet our food demand in the next 29 years. Japan was the first country to commercialize vertical farming. So basically, they adopted the technology that's being developed at the NASA Kennedy Space Center. This was circa 2007. This is one of the earliest vertical farms that was established in Japan. And the gentleman on the left is Mr. Uchiyama. He invited me to come and visit his new facility back then. And it was just being erected at the time. So in terms of vertical farms, Ian Cox has already provided some background on this, but you may categorize vertical farms into 2 forms. One is the fixed, and the other one is the mobile. So this one is the fixed vertical farm. This one is Mirai in Japan. So most vertical farms that you will see today are fixed, meaning to say that they have those shelves of plants being grown, stacked one on top of another, which is why it's called a vertical farm. However, the frame is not moving; it's fixed. And so we go to the next paradigm, which is a mobile vertical farm. Now, one disadvantage of the fixed vertical farm is that it's kind of cumbersome to maintain the plants, to access the plants for planting and for harvesting. With mobile vertical farms, though, you don't have that problem. So this is an original innovation that I developed together with my grad students in my biosystems engineering lab here at the University of Arizona. So the idea is to have this moving vertical farming growing systems that are sitting on mover robots. So these are the basic components. You've got your mover robot, you've got your hydroponic tank, or aeroponic tank, as it may be, and then you've got your growing trays. It may be horizontal, the growing systems, or they may be vertical as well. So there are a number of embodiments that are possible for this one. Now, this goes with an operational protocol we refer to as the Automated Circular Operational Protocol, where the algae bots or the live grow bots will be following this operation here, where they start at the germination room, going to the planting room, the growing room, the harvesting room, and into the packaging room. This is a representation of a side view of a building with multiple floors. And of course, there's an elevator that conveys or transports the algae bots into the designated floors. This is a top view here of a given floor. And again, this is the recirculation operational protocol, the planting room, the growing room, the harvesting room. And of course, the conditions in the growing room can be duly optimized in terms of temperature, relative humidity, and so on and so forth, so that you can really optimize both the growth as well as the quality of the plants. So that by the time they reach this area here, they're ready to jump into the elevator once again, so to speak, ready for harvesting. So this really lends itself to optimization, because you can collect the data using sensors for each one of these variables, and you can use artificial intelligence as an algorithm to find the optimal settings of each one of these variables to arrive at the maximum growth rate, as well as the optimal quality for the crop that's being grown. So this is a group of interdisciplinary engineering students at the University of Arizona who are currently working in developing a prototype for the algae bot here at the University of Arizona. So these are some of the advantages of the Go Vertical Farm. This is mainly addressing the labor problem for vertical farms, particularly in developed countries. Now, in developing countries, which we will address in a minute or so, of course, labor is not a problem as much in developing countries, but in developed economies, it's a problem. So this is very much addressing that issue. The other innovation that we have, we refer to it as the V-Hive Green Box. And this is also, I invented this together with some of my grad students. The idea here is to be able to maximize the number of crops that are being grown in a given volume of space. So we have here the lighting board or the L board, and then you have the growing board or the G board. And the growing board is essentially sandwiched between two lighting boards. So the idea here is to be able to make all of this adjustable in all three directions. So the spacing between the boards, the spacing between the growing trays or chambers, as well as you're able to pull out each chamber for maintenance purposes. So some of my students came up with prototypes. This one is the first prototype. So again, the arrows here indicate the degrees of freedom in terms of adjusting them in 3 dimensions. Okay, and then again, I had a group of interdisciplinary engineering students that worked on a prototype which was automated for this particular growing system. And this is a diagram of what they designed, and that's the actual prototype that they came up with that's automated. So now we go from developed economies to low-income countries or developing economies. The Philippines happens to be one of the epicenters for the impact of the changing climate because the Philippines now is receiving over 20 typhoons per year. And it's not the number really that is concerning, but it's the growing intensity of the typhoons or tropical storms that are visiting the country. This is one of those which happened a few years back. And so the farmers in the Philippines are starting to complain about really the changing climate and how it impacts their production. For instance, in this particular place, this grower here is testifying that now there's excessive heat and excessive rain, that he's no longer able to grow vegetables in an open field because they don't grow or they get destroyed. And so now he has to come up with some kind of a rudimentary greenhouse to provide some semi-control for the environment to allow the crops to grow properly. And so this is really underscores the fact that there is a need, particularly in certain areas, to augment field production with controlled environment agriculture production. So again, we are in the Philippines here, and this is one farmers association led by this gentleman here shown in the picture, is growing strawberries, which of course are not typically grown in the tropics, but is able to grow them with this kind of rudimentary controlled environment system. And so I'm working with an agency, the Department of Science and Technology of the Philippines, and I received a grant from them, and I'm working with counterparts in the Philippines, and our goal is to come up with a low-cost embodiment of a vertical farm, a modular type of vertical farm, such as this one, which we refer to as the frugal engineered indoor farming. So it's not as sophisticated as what's being used here in North America or perhaps in Europe, but it's certainly one that would be adapted specifically and appropriate for a tropical type of environment. And so this is something that we will begin beginning of next year. And this is the governor of that particular province. So back in space, again, space has a need, a definite need for food production to be able to sustain, again, the long duration crewed missions, again, on the moon or Mars, or even in the space station, as shown here. And at the space station, there's zero gravity. And so my group, again, decided to develop this innovation we refer to as an intelligent aeroponic microgravity and earth nutrient delivery system. Because water behaves very differently at zero gravity, because the predominant force acting on the water is not gravity, but surface tension. And this is what happens when surface tension becomes the predominant force acting on liquid, and that is they form these spheres. And so to be able to implement hydroponics or aeroponics in space, one has to innovate and to come up with a system that would work. And this is the system that we came up with. The yellow circles here represent the water droplets. And so we're using combinations of liquid nutrient emitters and air emitters, placing them in particular sequences along the aeroponic channel. The idea there is to be able to convey the water molecules forward through the root masses, and again, forward through the channels to be able to execute and implement the watering as well as the delivery of nutrients into the root mass. And again, I have a group of interdisciplinary engineering students that are working on designing a prototype for this technology. So I will end my presentation here. Here's my contact information if you wish to get in touch with me. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Professor. It was such an enlightening and a very, sought out presentation, I must say. Thank you for sharing your response on that. I would now like to call upon Rahman Ibrahim Najit, the Vice Chair of the Board at the Association for Vertical Farming. The gentleman is going to enlighten us about the advancement and the acceptance of vertical farming across the globe and, of course, the AVF activities. So, Rahman, the stage is yours now.
Thanks a lot, and good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm joining you in a snowy, cold day in Denmark, and I'm sorry that I can't share my screen, so if the screen is shared, we can continue.
Yes, the screen is shared, Rahman. You could carry on.
Perfect. Yeah. People call vertical farming a revolution, but it can also be categorized as just evolution of agriculture. And my colleagues Ian and Joel have painted a good picture of where the industry is. I try to summarize and also look at it as a broader scale. And let's see, at the end, I will talk about AVF activities as well. Next slide, please. If you want to look at the agriculture's timeline, for thousands of years, it was just simple use of tools. But after the First World War, we had the introduction of mechanization and tractors being introduced in the fields, and that added to the productivity of our agricultural systems. After the Second World War, we had the Green Revolution and introduction of agrochemicals to crop production. That had an immense impact on the yield, but also now we know that the environmental impact of it was immense as well. So now it's time for the new digital revolution, which vertical farming can also be put into that category. Introduction of precision agriculture in the field and also more indoor farming as well. Next, please. But even the covered agriculture has been around for decades. We had the simple covered systems. After that, greenhouses. Even now, you have introduction of supplementary lighting systems in greenhouses. And of course, vertical farms are more precise, and the better use of space led to introduction of vertical farms. Next, please. Just let's dive into some of the terminologies. It can be coined as indoor farm, vertical farms, controlled environment agriculture, which would be a broader theme that would also include greenhouses. And also in Asian countries, you have plant factory with artificial lighting as the name for these kind of production systems. But basic concept of it is a multi-level structure that uses the state-of-the-art climate control, nutrient delivery systems, irrigation, and it has to have artificial lighting to grow crops. Next, please. You can grow anything practically. Theoretically, you can grow plants, fish, insects, mushrooms, algae, and even the staple crops, but it has to make sense economically. So that's why it's mostly limited to leafy greens, herbs, but now we're trying to diversify, and I will talk about it in the next slides. And also on the different industries that vertical farming can fit into and feed to. It's food industry, pharmaceuticals, nutraceuticals, and animal feed. Now we are seeing a lot of insects, for example, being grown in indoor farms and use that for animal feed and also fodder plants as well. And there are different types. You can have in-store farms so that the technology is being showcased to the final consumer. You can have large-scale farms, which is the industrial scale of vertical farming, and container farms for food deserts, and for your kitchen you can have home appliances to grow your herbs and leafy greens. Next, please. Just some of the drivers behind the growth of vertical farming can be named here. The urbanization rate, that's most of the regions in the world, that more people are shifting from rural areas to urban and peri-urban areas. You have land use change and environmental degradation of agriculture, which feeds, if you can move some of the production to the indoor settings, that would decrease the environmental degradation of agriculture as a whole. Supply chain discrepancies, which we saw during the COVID pandemic with, for example, the transport was hit with the COVID pandemic. And for example, in the US, the lettuce had plowed back into the field instead of being shipped to Horeca, which was down because of the COVID pandemic. And also demand for better food is on the rise, depending on the region. For example, in Europe, there's a lot of demand for freshly grown local production, and that's going to add to the more acceptance for vertical farming. And also climate change impacts. Food system can also be the culprit and can have can take the most impact of climate change because of the frequencies of weather disasters, droughts, floods. We're going to see more of them, and that's help to the argument that if we move indoors, that's going to reduce the risks of climate change for food production. Next, please. I'm sure most of you have heard about the planetary boundaries, and the black dots that you see, that's the role of agriculture, which genetic diversity, nitrogen and phosphorus cycles show that we have moved past the high risk zone, and these needs to be addressed. And vertical farming can also play a role in with going closed systems, reducing the environmental impact of agriculture. Next, please. And it's a global thing. You can see flows in Europe, Northern America, and Asia, and land systems change. It's not just developed countries or developing countries' problem. It's everywhere, and we need to address it. And it will happen with different drivers behind it. So in next slides, I will dive into them as well. Next, please. Yes, dietary change. We need to shift towards more plant-based, as the Eat Lancet report shows. At least half of the plate should consist of fruits and vegetables. And even for protein content, we have to source it from high protein content plants. And that's the new adventure for vertical farming. And that's why we are trying to, with a proposal to Horizon Europe, we have introduced vertical farming as a new source of production for local consumption of fresh products like peas and beans. Next, please. Just to summarize some of the benefits of vertical farming: no pesticide and herbicide use, circular resource use for water. The amount of water consumed is far less than even greenhouses, and also mostly field production, hyper-locality. You with the control that you have on the lighting systems, nutrients that would go into the root systems, you can create better flavor and nutritional value. And also when you harvest sooner, then the taste aspects would harm. And that's the case with most of the greenhouse production that would come from hundreds of kilometers away. Higher yield, of course, and also production independent of climate. Next, please. There are, of course, some challenges for vertical farming. You have high capex and opex. You have lack of supportive regulations, whether it is regional, national, or just on local settings. There is a lot of cheap competition from field and other greenhouse production. Higher energy consumption, of course, there needs to be more efficiency, and also there needs to be an overhaul of the energy sector as a whole. There's a lack of high-skilled labor, and the data sharing within the companies in the vertical farming industry, that's another problem as well. Next, please. But there have been a lot of technological advancements. The LED sector is just on the top of the list because in the last decade, there has been a lot of growth in the efficiency, and the price has been dropping. The semiconductors, you have new systems coming in from the HVAC systems, sensors, monitoring systems. With 5G and IoT, you can have all these devices connected to each other. And the AI and big data would help us to make better decisions when it comes to growth of the plants, water and nutrient delivery systems, CO2 augmentation, automation and robotics, and also, as I said, specifically bred seeds for indoor production, which is going to be the next step. Next, please. But what the future holds for the industry? We hope to see more consumer awareness about the product, higher energy efficiency, more diversified crops, whether it is medicinal crops, herbs, as I said, high protein content crops. And we like to see more certification and standardization of the farms, supportive local and regional policies, and more private and public funds coming into the industry, and of course, educated workforce as well. Next, please. Just briefly talking about AVF, we have been founded in 2013, and there are some of the, as you can see, there are some of the strategies that AVF is trying to delve into and help the industry grow: communication and outreach, education and research, and standards and certification. Just briefly, I will talk about them in the next slides. Next, please. We are actively doing in-house conferences, meetings, webinars, and partnering up with organizations like TAP. We have published numerous white papers. We are initiating regional chapters, which the Indian chapter has been started, and also the AVF Vanguard Award, which was awarded to the UAE because of the appreciation of the industry and the attention that they have been given to the growth of it in the UAE. Next, please. And also the education and research, we have initiated an education lab in Munich. We have founded the Indoor Farming University Network to diversify the topics of research and trying to build consortia and apply for different funding schemes. And we have been doing research support and project coordination for numerous funded, mostly EU-funded projects as well. Next, please. Last but not least is the new certification scheme that we are working on with Control Union to put environmental sustainability into focus of most of the operators of farms. And this has been going on for the last year, I can say, and we have created a working group so that it hopefully next year spring we can initiate and start this certification so that it will be a living organism, and at the end we would like to see that helping to standardize the industry as a whole. Next, please. Just some of our featured members. We have companies from the upstream technology providers, vertical farming operators, and also downstream related industries like retailers that have been part of the community and help us grow and develop the industry as a whole. Next. Thank you for your attention, and I hope that you can reach me and we can discuss all these topics in more detail. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rahman, for giving us a very informative, information about the vertical farming and how can we, accept this kind of a process and change. I would now like to call upon our next presenter, our speaker, Dr. Praveen Singh. He is the Hydroponic Professional Director of PPRI India, where he will be speaking us about the success mantras of the vertical farming. Dr. Praveen, the stage is now yours. Dr. Praveen, you would have to unmute your mic, please. And your presentation on full screen.
Yeah.
Yes. Perfect. You're audible now.
Yeah.
You can screen share again.
You can see my presentation?
No, you would have to screen share that again, please.
We'll do that.
Sure.
Yes.
Perfect. It's visible now.
Okay. So thank you very much, the organizers. And I really was just listening to the previous speakers, the kind of opportunity, because I belong to India, where this hydroponic or a vertical farming is in the initial stage. So if I see the potential and opportunity, what previous speakers already highlighted, and second, yes, we can learn from there, but yes, the major challenge is we need to calibrate the thing before implementing in our microclimate. Because my understanding is every hydroponic project is unique project. So myself, Dr. Praveen Singh, I've been associated with this high-tech farming from past 10 years, worked with the different corporates, and now I'm extending my technical support with different growers for enabling them to achieve what they aspire at the initial stage of project planning. I'm going to use a word kheti badi because I proudly say myself as a kheti badi wala, and its meaning is the grower. And I intensely choose this because in Indian scenario, the moment we talk about farmer or kheti badi wala, then a picture arises with really a deprived face, with I should say not a gentleman kind of a picture. So I want to change that picture, and that is my vision, mission, and I'm just engaged with that. So I'll try to give you some of my experience, and based on that, what I feel like the success mantra for India as well as the Asian continent. But yes, as I mentioned, the copy paste is really difficult in high-tech and vertical farming. So today I'm going to talk about basic like human expectations, and then how this growing or the kheti badi started and what is the stage here, and then challenges in hydroponic, or we can say in a vertical farming. And then I am going to talk on 4 different success mantras like planning, execution, growing, and marketing. And I will also emphasize on what different stakeholders can contribute for ensuring success of this vertical farming, because I don't have any doubt to say that this is one of the most efficient growing system available on the earth. And our government is also working on doubling the farmer income or increasing indirectly. If we talk about, they are worried on food production and they want to expand the production vertically, and we don't have much of opportunity for expanding horizontally. So if we talk about the human expectation, we all are looking for a happy family. And for a happy family, we need some enablers. So like financial security, social security, and health security. And we all are working to achieve that. And if we talk about this vertical farming, then again, if we talk about this farming or this kheti badi is helping a lot for health security, because today whatever we are eating, we are not sure that what we are eating. So to achieve a health security, your lifestyle is important, your physical exercise, and after this COVID introduction or pandemic, the breathing exercise is also becoming part of our daily life. And then we need to have a healthy environment, and then we need to have healthy food. And first 3 can be done individually. But for last 2, we need to have a collective approach. And that can be achieved by the growing or the kheti badi, whether it is high-tech or traditional. But yes, we are talking on today high-tech farming. So let's try to understand in general terms how our whole agriculture system evolved. It started with the hunting gathering. Then we moved to shifting cultivation. From shifting cultivation, we moved to subsistence farming, where we were just trying to grow what we need, and we were having the barter system where we were exchanging the commodities. And in shifting cultivation, there was a plenty of opportunity. Once the particular land fertility reduces, then they were moving to other chunk of high fertility soil. Today, we are at a commercial farming stage. And that has given us a lot of good things, which I'll discuss in the next one, and also given some of the disadvantages which every individual in the society are struggling. So there is a question why we need to have this high-tech or a vertical farming. So there are different aspects, but one of the aspect, as mentioned by one of previous speaker, that there was a smooth supply chain between the producer, the farmer, the grower, and the consumer. But the moment pandemic entered in our life, there was a significant disturbance in our logistic arrangement, and the grower was producing, but the consumer was forced or bound to pay a higher premium price or a higher cost for their produce. And then they realize that yes, if that severity go beyond, then how we can sustain ourselves. So one of the options they find that yes, urban farming or a high-tech farming or a vertical farming is one of the option by which at least we can consume or we can produce some of the produce and we can sustain ourselves. Because for the grower and farmer, there's no risk of sustenance because they can get their food. So that entering of this pandemic is one of the factor. I'll discuss some of other factors in this slide. Like if we talk about commercial farming, we got enhanced unitary return. India become a net exporter. We become a food sufficient also. But on what cost? The consumers are suffering. Why I'm saying consumers are suffering? Because today if I'm going in Indian market or vegetable market, I'm buying anything, I'm not sure that what is the quality of that and I don't have any tool to assess that. The moment we are exporting any commodity, there is a set standard for that. So what is the option as a common man left? Why can't we go for a small vertical farm or a commercial vertical farm where we can ensure the quality as the consumer are looking for? The natural resource is deteriorating because of the management practices there, because of the extensive cultivation on the land. Agri produce quality is deteriorating because the producers are not worried about the health, they are worried about their profitability. Greed of higher return is always there. And as I mentioned, there is a disconnect between grower and the consumer. So all these factors bound us to think, and if we look back in India, past 2 decades, this high-tech farming or a vertical farming started taking shape, and now in past decade, it has expanded with the support of corporates who have a lot of money to invest in that. And if I look post-COVID or during a COVID phase, even the common man are willing to invest to have a small unit at their own place. And that's how we can say that yes, the future is there, but yes, we, all the players, need to ensure a bright future for vertical farming. And we have to ensure the result, because I was just going through with the comments and all, whether this is profitable or not, because it's a high capex intensive farming. So these are the questions which every investor is struggling. So I can say, based on my experience, past 10 years experience and current association with different farm, it is profitable provided you are following a right step for achieving the success. So one hand, I just tried to give a picture on how this high-tech farming or a vertical farming is taking shape in India. Other side, I would also like to highlight what are the challenges we are facing in this. So one, capital intensive, because the initial investment is pretty high. And that's how the Indian vertical industry is still confined with the corporates, with the business houses, And the drawback is they are willing, they have ability, but they don't have the technical ability, and they are dependent on that. I don't have any hesitation to say that the technical resource availability in India is still challenging. And they are playing a crucial role in the success of any hydroponic project. It will be surprising that on one hand, if we look to Europe, we are talking about the robotics, but in India, still we are talking about getting a seasoned technical resource for running the operation. Because their thought process is still coming from the traditional farming, and they are trying to mix the traditional farming as well as this high-tech farming. And because of that, most of the projects, they are struggling. Now, the next challenge, what anybody who is willing to invest or a venture in hydroponic or a vertical industry, the hardware and software. If I talk about hardware, it is not that computer hardware. I'm talking about all the infrastructure required for installing any hydroponic project or a vertical farming project. It includes maybe the protected structures, the greenhouse, or the indoor. It includes the drip irrigation, automation, fertigation. Everything comes under a hardware. And the second part is the software, means how to grow your crop. What variety, what crop, what time of seeding, what nutrition, and all these things comes under a software. And believe me, at least I can say in the scenario where I'm working, the contribution of success is 20% is coming from a hardware and 80% is coming from the software. If there is any issue or a problem in hardware, that can be addressed. But if you are not using the right way of a growing crop, it will be difficult to achieve the success. So that is the challenge our Indian vertical farming industry is facing. One of the previous speaker has mentioned that competition with the traditional grower or traditional produced products. I would phrase that in a way that product innovation is missing. Still, people are setting up that high-tech farms in India, and they are trying to sell their product as a commodity. And the moment they are selling their product as a commodity, they are competing with the traditional growers. And if that is the case, it is difficult to achieve the desired result. So product innovation means the converting your produce into a product as per the customer's requirement. So these are some challenges what we are facing in Indian hydroponic or a vertical farming industry. Let's move and understand what are the success mantra, how we can address all these things. So one, the planning. As I mentioned earlier slide, that is still the vertical farming projects or vertical farming initiatives are restricted with the rich guys. They have a limited time. They have a resource, but yes, if the resource are capable, then the planning will be perfect. And if the resource are not capable, then definitely the plannings are going to be in such a way which is going to impact the whole project. So according to me, based on my experience in Indian vertical farming industry, we must start the whole concept with a market study. And out of that, we need to zero down our crop. So we need to identify the crop. That this is the crop which I can grow and I can sell easily in the market at a premium rate. Then once we decide that, okay, this is the crop we need to grow, then we have to work out the microclimatic requirement of that crop. And based on that, we have to design the hardware. Hardware means protected cultivation structure. And even if we decided that crop then we have to decide the crop schedule, and based on that, the structure need to be designed and it need to be customized, because most of the prevailing structures are copy paste from the cooler region. We need to calibrate that as per our own microclimatic requirement. We are also need to identify the right growing system, whether it is soilless hydroponic, NFT, DWC, what is going to work in my own climatic condition. For example, if we talk about the area where we are having an extreme of weather condition, means high and low both, then deep water culture is the better option as compared to NFT. So these are the basics we need to incorporate while designing or planning of our project. And vendor identification is also really crucial, because based on his ability, we are going to get the right infrastructure. And at the planning stage itself, we need to understand the crop. We have to develop our crop production strategy. We need to identify some of the varieties based on their character. We need to do a crop scheduling, and we need to analyze, like in a case, if we want to grow strawberry around the year in Delhi with a very high temperature. So we have to, it is a possible. Under an indoor condition with a control condition, yes, definitely it is possible, but we have to see that what is the unit cost production. If we'll produce a single means a kg of a strawberry at a cost of something like 300 and 400 rupees a kg, then it is difficult to sell in the market. Because if we will create that microclimate, my operational costs are going to increase, and that's how we have to see the balance, that what is the best crop schedule. Okay, in winter we are going to just extend my strawberry season, and I'll just have some different crop during summer, so I can realize a better premium on both the crop, instead of putting a very high, means capex intensive infrastructure and struggle to produce the crop. And accordingly, we also have to have a harvesting schedule based on our market requirement. And then output marketing is the key for success. So we need to be since beginning, we need to be very sure that who is my target customer and what is my target market and what is his need. And the whole story should start that, okay, this customer is struggling with these three problems, and let's resolve and give a product. If time will allow, I will just share one of the success story where we started producing farm in box, which is a live lettuce selling in Delhi first time. So the planning need to be a robust, followed by, at the time of execution, we've decided the crop structure and everything. Now it is the stage when we need to go for execution, project execution. That need to be in two phases. One, small pilot project, where we need to standardize the software. Software means how to grow a crop at my own project, because the microclimatic condition at every projects are different. And then, as I mentioned, hardware adaptation is also required, because standard hardware means kind of a protected structures may work or may not work. So we need to see that what adaptation is required, and once we successfully complete our pilot project, then only we should go for a commercial project. And with the cost optimization, efficient monitoring, timely execution, vendor handholding. Vendor handholding or a timely execution is a very, very important and crucial, because if we are targeting that I am going to hit my market in this month, then the project need to be delivered before that. Vendor handholding is why I'm just asking for that. The initial hiccups in any new project, any vertical farming project in India are really, really significant and serious. And once you address, and that takes around 6 to 8 months, and once you address that, the whole project is going to work on autopilot mode. So whenever we are executing anything, we need to have a vendor handholding for at least 6 months and if possible for a year. So if we follow this process, then definitely we are going to deliver what we are looking for. The next is optimal growing. Means until and unless we are growing our crop efficiently, like we need to understand that, okay, I have a market for 10 kg every day. Accordingly, I have to schedule my seeding and I have to just design my fertigation schedule. And we need to adjust also as per the climatic shift and change. And then plant protection is also an important part. And this all schedule must be ready from our pilot project. So in our commercial project, we should not struggle for addressing these type of issue. And these are somehow the outcome or my experience is coming based on different projects I'm associated. And even we need to have a harvesting schedule also. So we need to, the whole team need to be ready, and they should be aware that, okay, this is the kind of a production and this is the schedule we are going to get. So for optimal growing, if we are having the schedule out of my pilot project, then definitely success is assured. And then the effort, because the cost optimization is one of the major factor, because if we are able to produce cost effectively, then definitely we are going to have advantage in the market. And ultimately, if we are selling our produce and earning more margin, then definitely the projects are going to be successful and economically viable. As I mentioned earlier also, product innovation is the key for any high-tech vertical farm, where the grower need to address some of the challenge of the consumers. And if you are able to do that, then definitely he will be happy. And I can tell and I can assure, in metro cities of India, people are willing to pay a premium for the quality produce. And yes, if you are getting a premium, your project is going to be a successful project. Efficient marketing. So marketing strategy is need to be translated into a growing also, because marketing is what? Marketing is keeping your customer with you only. So what you can do, you have to plan your regular product in a ratio of 80 and maybe 20 or 90 into 10%. So 10% should be such a unique product which is available with you only. So with that, you can hold your customer for a longer duration with you. And yes, there is a need to provide a product basket, because there are only two options. Maybe you can be expert in one commodity, which is really in India, which is really a little difficult, because a market is looking for a basket of a product. If I'm just having a one product, yes, it is possible. I'm not saying that it is not possible, but yeah, the challenges are much higher as compared to if anybody is providing a basket of a product. Consistent supply and product differentiation is everywhere, not in only vertical farming. If you can ensure a consistent supply to any customer, then definitely he is going to come back. And product differentiation, maybe in terms of a packing, in terms of a quality, because this high tech or a vertical farming or a hydroponics is providing you an opportunity to play with the quality. If you want to develop a specific quality, then yes, you as a grower, you have an opportunity, because you have 100% control on your growing. Whatever you are going to feed to your crop, that only your crop is going to eat. They don't have a liberty, or they don't have an option to go for a junk food. And if they are not eating junk food, then definitely they will have a healthy quality as per your expectation. So these are some of the success mantras which, according to me, in Indian scenario is crucial for ensuring the success. Now, the way forward, we need to use science.
Dr.
Why I'm
Praveen,
saying science?
we are running a little short on time for the session. I would request you to kindly wind it.
This is the last slide. So use of a science means we need to assess the requirement, and based on that, we need to develop the whole requirement of the project. And yes, skill resource development can be done by taking up by the educational institutions, and customer awareness is definitely the extension agencies can play a role for that, because hydroponic product needs to be become a popular. Then only these kind of products succeed and work successfully with positive ROI. With those words, I just thank. I will be happy to argue. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Praveen, for sharing such a detailed and a very knowledgeable, insight about the businesses of the vertical farming. So now we come to the end of session one. We will now proceed towards picking up some Q&A questions from our audiences that have been taken up. One of our questions, I think, the first question is for Ian. One of our viewers, Denise Kose, is has a question where she has to ask that elaborate on the profit margins between conventional and vertical farming. I see that you've given a reply, Ian, but I think the audiences would want to hear a little bit more from you. Thank you.
Okay. No, thanks very much for that, Umama. The profit margins, I don't know what they are because they're commercially confidential and no grower or producer will sort of release what they are. But the key, I think, is very much to make sure you have a proper business plan written in advance of developing a vertical farm like that, which has lots of different financial scenarios and options around those as well, to start to look at your payback period, your return on investment, etc. And as I said in my presentation, making sure the different technologies you want to employ are suited, as we've heard in the previous speaker, around making sure they're adapted for the crops that you're looking at. So it's a proper full-blown sort of business plan with a marketing plan there, and doing some trials in a pilot stage if you can, to look at the different sort of technologies to make sure they all work with what you're wanting to do. So it will be a slightly longer process, but that's if you want to go down the route of a very large plant. There are alternatives out there, and I've been speaking with Nathan Defoe. He's got a scheme, he says, that's relatively low cost, and Saturn Bioponics that mentioned is relatively low cost. It would be grown in a polytunnel or on a normal farm, and it's literally like a series of buckets. It looks like buckets, but they're not, on top of each other, so you can grow those to head height without needing huge, great big storage facilities. But that increases your profitability by about 5 or 6 fold on that front. It is a complicated picture, but yeah, you need to do a lot of research in it. You don't just go into it thinking you're going to make a lot of money very quickly, because the investments there are big, and you do need to have some horticultural skills as well. I've been in talk with somebody in the UK about that, where he's very good at turning around plants where they've had big investments, made big losses, but he's gone in there and actually supplied horticultural skills to actually turn it around and start to make a profit on it. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, that does. Thank you so much, Ian, for elaborating that for the audience. Another question that is directed towards Professor Jewel, that one of our audiences, Juan Lacey, has a question that what has to be addressed about aquaculture by Vertical Farming Association?
Right, yeah. So with the Association for Vertical Farming, we, of course, address the needs of our members. And thus far, we don't really have any member who is really into aquaculture. So if we have members going forward who are really interested in integrating aquaculture with vertical farming, which, of course, can very well be done, then, of course, we would be very happy to address that as well.
Thank you so much, Joel, for answering that question. The last question is for Mr. Rahman. One of our, audiences has a question that what has the startup to do, the startup participation? How can they be a part of the AVF from the UAE? Since you've mentioned that in the, in the presentation. And another one is for the startup question, that how does VFA help the startups? I think Raman is not on stage.
Yes, I'm not sure that Rahman is staying here. But again, since I'm with the Association for Vertical Farming, I can speak to that.
Right.
Well, certainly ABF is there to help all of the stakeholders of the vertical farming industry. And that, of course, includes the entrepreneurs and the startup companies. So we're very much into that in terms of helping them, linking them to the technology, tutorial information, as well as potential investors. So please connect with us. Google us at the Association for Vertical Farming, and we'd be very happy to talk with you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Professor Joel, for answering all the questions for us. I would now request all the audiences, if they would like to interact with the speakers of the session, wherein they can go on the left side of the screen of the platform, which says VIP. So VIP is a place where you can network and have a conversation with the panelists and the speakers of the session day one and day two. We now proceed towards our session 2. Thank you so much to all our speakers and audiences for joining us here. I would now like the audience to, request them to move towards our next session, session 2, which is about the innovation and digitalization in the vertical farming, revolutionizing agriculture. Therein, in the session 2, we will also play the demo video, which will give you an insight about how to navigate through the platform in the coming consecutive sessions and for the next day as well. Once again, a very warm welcome and thank you for joining us here in the inaugural session of the Global Vertical Farming 2021. Thank you so much.